franchising across Canada. And I'm really excited. Today, I got a good friend, a really good buddy. He's just an amazing guy that runs an amazing company, and I know everyone across North America has heard of it. John Evans from EverLine Coatings and Services. John, how you doing, bud?
Hey, Steve, doing really well. How are you, brother?
I'm well. A little cold back here in the East Coast. How's it in Calgary?
Hey, it's not so bad. We're just above freezing, and we had a deep freeze last year, so I'll take it.
Nice. How about Houston? How's it down there?
Yeah, it's around it's in the mid-20s or so. So anytime that I travel down there, it's always a nice little break.
Love it. Well, let's get into it, John. It's we've had the pleasure to work with you for quite some time, and of course, I've known you for many years, and watching your company grow. And maybe just who's John? Tell us who's John Evans. Who's the man with the guy that always gives me beer and envy?
Hey, well, yeah, I'm the founder and CEO here at EverLine Coatings and Services. So I'm been an entrepreneur, I think, all of my life, at least bare minimum in spirit. I've been in involved in the franchising industry since I was a little kid. My parents were multi-unit franchise owners. And so grew up, my parents being their own boss, going to the office and things like that. And then, of course, working in franchises in high school, and being exposed to it. I wasn't aware of it at the time, but going from store to store, and having the same process at each store that I went to and things like that. And then, of course, becoming a franchisee myself. But yeah, no, other than that, I'm a mild-mannered family guy. Got a 4-year-old and 1-year-old at home, and they're excited for Christmas. So
wow. And I always say a true entrepreneur spirit. I remember calling you one time. So what's going on, John? I'm just on my way to the hospital to have a baby. Of course, an entrepreneur would answer that call, right? So,
hey, man, it doesn't stop. You got to keep the work going.
I get it. Well, let's get, that's really interesting about your parents and growing up. What industry were they in?
So it was a skincare industry. So this was so the company was huge in the 80s and 90s. It's called Alouette Cosmetics.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of just gone just all internet here now lately.
Gotcha,
and
yeah.
Once Walmart came to Canada, that was it was kind of the death knell for it. But yeah, no. They operated it, and just seeing them interact with the corporate side of things, and of course, myself as a kid going to conferences and get up on stage and have the microphone and stuff like that. So yeah, wow. that all is in my blood.
Wow, it's amazing. So, well, let's talk about what you touched on. You were actually a franchisee before.
I was. Yeah. So and that's actually been, again, it's been in my blood. It's been in my career. So I've been I was a franchisee for College Pro Painters. College Pro, it's still around. Their window cleaners now, under Dan Monahan and Tony Valley at Clear Summit. They do window cleaning. But anyways, it was a program, for young entrepreneurs like myself, or people like I was in university, always had an interest in business, and it was actually, I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but it was actually Dragon's Den that kind of set me down the course of like, I want to run my own business and things like that. And I just didn't know how. I think my earliest ideas for a business was, like actually a hot dog cart, like outside nightclubs and stuff like that. Right. So I was like, it's going to be called Rocky Mountain Smokies, was the whole thing. But of course, I didn't quite know. I mean, I was 19 years old when I'm dreaming all this stuff up, that kind of stuff, right?
Wow.
And then saw them. I had a good friend of mine who was a franchisee with them and really highly recommended the experience. So it was a student painting program where they, that you get a chance as a 20-year-old, 21-year-old to learn how to run a business, and nothing prepares you for real entrepreneurship more than just being thrown into the fire.
Wow. Yeah, we work with a painting brand that Elite Trade Painting. They have university painters, same kind of thing, and it is a great, and they've turned a lot of their university painters into their next franchise model.
Right.
That's so, like, you look back in that, and it probably taught you a lot of values, but did it teach you what you like and what you don't like about being a franchisee?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, and this is what I tell our current franchisees here right now is, the EverLine is a franchise system built by franchisees for franchisees. And, I remember what it was like to write a royalty check and be like, what is this for? And I remember writing that check and being like, yeah, they pulled their weight, and helping me kind of get to this point here. And but then, yeah, and I'll say too, just being exposed to all of the, I guess, just the realities of being a business owner really early. While while I was 20 years old, had a lot of energy and just take the hits nonstop. Worked from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. no problem. Get older, that gets harder, as a lot
Oh,
of people know.
absolutely. The recovery process gets longer too, but
That's right.
that's wonderful, man. So, I mean, with EverLine, where did it come from? It's such a successful brand. It's such a, like, give us where did it come from? Like,
Sure.
how did you come up with this?
Sure. Well, yeah, I guess kind of a quick intro on EverLine. So we're a parking lot line painting and pavement maintenance company. So we service parking lots everywhere, as well as just municipalities, roads, things like that there as well. But everywhere, every building out there has a parking lot, and they all need parking lot line striping, seal coating, crack filling, asphalt repair, things like that. And so we've built EverLine into a one-stop shop, single brand that allows us to really provide just a great solution for our clients, primarily based around communication as the basis there. And so it's a big reason why we've been growing at the rate that we are. But going back to all the way when I started EverLine, I just finished my final year of university and kind of outgrew the college program. I wasn't a student anymore, and I was considering going and becoming a general manager for them and things like that. And I remember negotiating with the current, he's still the CEO, Tony Valley, and just saying, hey, here's how I want this to go. He's like, it sounds like you still want to just run your own business, man. And so I went to a franchise show actually in Calgary here, and I ran into a company that was not selling a franchise. Actually, they were selling a license for a more durable type of traffic marking product. So I'd been, walking the aisles and saw a paint spraying machine in a booth, and so me coming from the painting world, that caught my eye, right? Because I recognized somewhat what I was looking at. It was just on wheels, and so I walked into the booth and started just talking about the line painting industry in general, and I expressed my background that I was a high-performing franchisee with College Pro. And once we just kind of got going, and then I saw that there were a lot of parallels with what I was dealing with in the house painting industry. So, like, what you're dealing with is, if you go, Steve, go to Home Depot right now and buy a roller and a paintbrush, you're a professional painter. That right, right? Like, get a business card, things like that. And so it's kind of similar with a bit of a higher barrier to entry in I guess the line painting world. And then with that comes relatively unsophisticated contractors in the space. So I had been dealing with that world as a student painter, competing against a lot of those guys, as well as being able to go head to head with more established brands there as well. So still, winning the majority of my jobs just by presenting myself as a highly communicative and professional contractor for them to work with, and not ever chasing price or anything like that. So all these same principles started coming in my head with applying it to the line painting trade. So it was a natural fit. It was just a heavier niche. And so started EverLine. I bought the initial license for the durable traffic marking product to have a differentiated product right out of the gate, which helped, but it wasn't the main driver. The main driver was, just the way that we presented ourselves. And I'll never forget my first, review or email that I got back from a client working overnight at EverLine is I was on site at 3 a.m. painting lines. It started raining. I emailed the client, hey, just so you know, it started raining last night on this site. We're going to come back tomorrow. And they were blown away by simply that. And they were like, normally it's just a mystery as to what's going on my property. So thank you very much for that. And so that was kind of the very beginning of going down that road of doubling down on that behavior.
Well, and you raise a really good point. Like, there's a difference between working in the business and on the business.
Right.
So the byproduct of painting the lines and parking lot maintenance, of course, is what you do. But let's touch on, and I've used this before because I think it's brilliant. And when you say unsophisticated competition, it's not a derogatory dig,
No,
but it's basically the way that the businesses are run. And you're
right.
right. I mean, what you just said. Listen, I've built a couple of places. I have some commercial properties, drive me nuts, where
Mhm,
people just don't show up.
mhm.
But like putting that spin into the business, it must have just that must have been one of your just catapults
Oh,
to your success.
immediately. So even for like, I think it's it's not just a buzzword you hear. A lot of it in franchising is just by its very nature of franchising standardizes things, it professionalizes things, it
Mhm.
brands things, which the common consumer is their expectations are growing. So franchising helps, better, I think, the overall industry because in order to become a franchisable system, you need all of these things. But with me in the very early days at EverLine, me being able to go and get Chinook Center in my very first year, which we still paint today.
Come
Uh,
on, is that right?
yeah, I
Your
got
first
that.
year? Wow,
Yeah,
wow.
so yeah, for those who don't know, Chinook is like our big mall in the downtown down Calgary, and and really, what I'll tell you is that I had a system that I developed where I was gonna of how I was gonna get the attention to talk to these property managers. Back then, we were only a line painting company, but I remember just going on LinkedIn or even just on the website at Cadillac Fairview, finding out who the contract services manager was, reaching out and saying, "Hey, I would just love to throw my hat in the ring and just provide a bid for you here." And then they said, "We've got a guy, but call us next year." And then that was in May or June. And guess who got a call at the very end of August? Our guy never showed up. We need this done. We need this done. Can you do this? And I was on vacation at the time, so I'm like, on Google Earth, like counting lines and things like that, and having my team go and count lines and all the parkades and things like that out there to get it done. And then yeah, we've kind of gone full circle with that. So,
Wow.
but again, it just comes from the remaining professional, communicative, that even in my interaction with them of even asking to quote, it was memorable enough for them to to reach back out and be like, I trust this person that I'm talking with.
Right. Well, I think it appeals back when you're looking at any company. You're not an investor. You're a founder, man. And what I love about Everline is going through the process,
Mhm.
and as opposed to some businesses where there's 16 ladders and you got a board of directors and a shareholders but let's talk about Dragon's Den. I mean, you
Sure.
must be sick of talking about it, John.
No, no, I don't mind it at all. It's
Okay,
awesome.
because like there's not too many. You run Dragon's Den, like tell us rather me
Sure.
yak about it.
Sure. So really where all that came from, I mean, of course, I've been a huge fan of the show. I mean, it is, I think, one of, not only just my natural personality, but it was the tipping point for me in, going for my minor at Haskins Business School here in Calgary and being like, I want to go down the road of entrepreneurship. And that was so always kept tabs in the show and things like that. But then once as Everline was growing, and we did in the very beginning a very slow, controlled growth process. So that was really important that we weren't that because I didn't fully understand how our model was going to act in a franchise space because not every business can or should be franchised.
Right.
Like a lot of people think, yeah, and I know this, Steve. A lot of people think it's like, oh, you just, you sell you get some franchise fee, you sit back, collect royalties, and it's a joke. It's
Couldn't
not
be
like that
more
at
wrong,
all. It's,
bud.
yeah, it's that was the whole thing. So, as our Everline franchisees were, starting to prove out the model a little bit more, we're tightening a lot of bolts, we're refining them, gathering data. I'm starting to feel more confident in where this is going. And so I did very slow controlled growth across Canada. The first year I, sold one franchise, and the next year I sold just one. Then the year after that there was three, and then just kind of growing gradually. And then eventually I was like, I feel like I'm ready to go. And so, but I was really young, just a young franchise system, tight on resources, couldn't afford, going out and getting, massive ad campaigns and things like that. So I, was sitting having breakfast on Saturday morning watching Dragon's Den reruns, and then I was like, I think I'm kind of at that right spot where it'd be an interesting conversation with white space, and having I guess a great conversation with the Dragons as to how we could grow. And yeah, we started. So I went through the process. There was a casting call. I went downtown Calgary and I sang for my supper. I pitched. And the important thing is, and the tip for anybody listening, considering going on Dragon's Den, is that you can have the absolute best business in the world, but that doesn't matter if you don't have a pitch for a good segment. So what they really liked for us is that the Dragons were out painting lines. So it was something happening in front of them.
Right,
It wasn't
right.
just me, showing a product or talking about a service. It was a big thing. So that was a big thing. So yeah, we went through there, and then we got invited to film. I was at the Canadian Franchise Association
Yeah.
conference when I got the invite, actually, to go film.
What,
And
really?
yeah, yeah. And then of course, and the next thing is that they filmed twice as many, twice as many pitches than actually go on air. And they started the season before they told me we were going to air. So I was like, that's a bad sign. We didn't make it. We didn't make it on air. And then finally, we were the season finale in the teaser. We were, they're like, hey, and the season finale of Dragon's Den, Disrupt Den, and you see them painting lines. And I learned like 2 or 3 weeks before we were on there, and that was awesome. And we had a big party and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Wow, man, that's a great. So, what was the outcome of it? Like, did you get a
So yeah,
deal?
we did a deal on the show, and essentially, been able to connect with Manjeet when needed, to ask questions, major inflection points. When we expanded to the United States, she was hugely helpful
Right.
for that through the pandemic, as well. When we kind of switched everything to disinfectant for a bit, reached out to her because I guess her brewery was developing sanitizers and
Right,
things like
right.
that there as well. But then I think overall, though, it's been a remarkable marketing tool for our franchisees as well. Because as soon as you tell anybody, yeah, we were on Dragon's Den, it's just like instant
Amazing.
credibility.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
people love the show. They love seeing it, even though it wasn't the actual franchisee on that there, that you see the Dragon saying, I actually do have a hard time getting this work done, and
Yeah.
this is a good idea, and this is a good company. And so, I mean, it's hard to, you can't pay for, I guess, exposure like that. That's for sure.
No, amazing. And Julia, we'll make sure that we put the link to Dragon's Den. That's one whenever we're doing development for EverLine Code, everyone watches that.
Hmm.
Everyone does. And you're right, man. Good on you. That certainly would have helped. We'll make sure that we have a link to that video below here. So it's well, so 100 units, John. You just had your 100th unit. That's incredible. Like, I mean, that's, when you look at franchising in Canada, 95.3% don't get past 10 units.
Hmm.
And I don't have the stats for 100, but I'm sure it's quite tiny.
Hmm.
Like, so first of all, congratulations, man.
Yeah,
That's
thank you.
incredible. And it certainly wasn't rainbows and butterflies along the way. I know you and I are buddies and we've had some chats
Yeah,
about some stuff. But so, when you hopped into the US, the US
yeah,
and Canada are quite different.
they are.
All aspects. So from franchise development, it's majorly different. From a B2C standpoint, what's the big difference with the States compared to Canada with EverLine Coatings?
For like how the franchisees present the services and
Yeah,
things.
the whole kit and caboodle.
Well, really, I mean, it's you have different cultures and how people buy things. I guess between the United States and Canada, it's Canada, and we're really are focusing on, while we have had tremendous growth in the United States, Canada is not left behind whatsoever. We maintain at, we follow EOS, or the Entrepreneurial Operating System. We have specified rocks in our annual goals that specifically focus on Canada to make sure we don't forget where we came from and things like that. So
Yeah.
that's really important to note. But when it comes to Canada, it's the clients really seek authenticity. They really do seek the just a really highly communicative client and professionalism and things like that. And yeah, most of the time, a lot of our clients on the Canadian side, they're operations managers for a mall that are just excited to go for a walk around their mall to have a smoke and a coffee and a Tim's and just talk lines and things like that. On the US side, it's a bit more intense. There's of course just a lot more just general market activity. I mean, you walk outside and it's just an ad of something somewhere. And navigating through that noise is a thing. But I mean, we've had, of course, tremendous success in Canada as well as the United States. But I think really the differences are yeah, I think it's just really just down into the little minute interactions. We're in Canada, we're okay with swimming in the gray, and in the US, they want black and white.
Yeah, fair. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And we notice that from a development side as well.
Mm.
When you're working with companies on both sides, it's just, when you're talking to if you're talking any US franchise brands that want to hop over, and part of what we do is we got to Canadianize that. We got to Canadianize all aspects of it. But one thing I've noticed, John, and our whole team speaks to this about you, you're very humble. So going through the process, and you don't try to, that's you. That must be important. Like, why is that important as your company just turns into this ginormous monster?
I mean, it's always weird to I guess I mean sometimes some people have asked, they're like, have you just like acknowledged what's been built here? And I say no,
Yeah.
not really, because my head is down. I'm with the team, and I'm not I'm not a ivory tower kind of person. This is something where I very much enjoy hearing from the front lines of what's going on. The old style of undercover boss. Like, I want to know how we're being presented instead of getting into the common trap that a lot of large, fast growing companies get into, is that as you get more layers of people around you, which our team has had to grow substantially. I mean, 3 years ago, it was just me on the
Yeah.
franchise side. 2 years ago, there was we brought on two people part-time, and then now we have 25 people on staff, and we're continuing to hire and grow to support everything. And I definitely feel I because it happened so fast. I very much enjoy the end product, the end delivery. I enjoy hearing about the wins of the franchisees. I enjoy hearing about, I enjoy hearing about the issues that they're having in order to work to solve them as a result of that. So, I mean, even we do a monthly survey with our franchisees. I reach out to everybody every time they deliver that survey, to let them know that they've been heard and to talk through any challenges that they might have and how I can go at it from my approach and that kind of thing. So, just to me, I'm just hyper proud of what we've grown, and yeah, I just it's not in my DNA to be that ivory tower guy.
No, that's good. And that's a true founder, right? And that's the difference between an investor and a founder. I find myself anyway, and you can see that. And, I always find your marketing is very satisfying when you see that the line, it's just very satisfying when you look at that. I just had to throw that in.
Well, I love it. In fact,
Yeah.
there was it was a few months ago, early at the beginning of this season, there was a really important national contract that needed to get done. It was a specialized project, and the franchisee in the area was not ready to do a specialized project there like that, and I was the closest one. And so I strapped on my coveralls and went and did the job there with him.
Love it.
And that was awesome. I loved it. It was just, he couldn't believe what he was seeing, which to me is weird. I'm like, I'm just here to help you out, man, to get this going. But he's like, but you're like the CEO. This is the whole
Right.
thing. And again, it's because I love the work. I love just going into a specialized warehouse and just pounding it out, getting it done, and they're happy with it, and it helps them improve their business. I'm passionate about that, and then they had a big win, and then that grew a national account with us. So that was a really cool experience.
Love it. Well, speaking of your franchisees, there's all sorts of that comes from all cultures, all shapes and sizes, all over the place. What do you look for What are some traits that you would look for a franchise owner to be successful with an EverLine Coatings and Services?
So there's a in franchising, there's I think a scale of how entrepreneurial you are and where you fit in that whole thing. Because and they say that if you were to go in a more mature established brand, right, something that's legacy, been around for a while, things like that, they're set in their ways, and you really, as you are, when you become a franchisee, you're investing in something in which you are going to operate according to that system, because that's just what it's been whittled down to. Uh, on the flip side, when you have emerging systems, there's a lot of gray there, right? Because there's a lot of figuring out and how everything's going. So, just by my personality and just where my passion is, I love entrepreneurial franchisees. Though that understand that we are as well, what we have developed to this point has been there. So that has created the results that we've been able to repeat over and over again. And so when we have a franchisee that's knocking out of the park, and they, just by following the system, but with their own flavor. I have a franchisee in Sudbury, for instance, who's doing all that. I mean, he's a major leader in the organization, generating, quite a bit of revenue off of a tiny market like Sudbury, or Saskatoon, same thing, or here in Calgary, or our president here. Just everybody has their own flavor. So I say the pros and cons to EverLine is, pro is there's I guess it's very adaptable to the entrepreneur taking it on, to an extent, of course. But the con is that it's not cookie cutter. So it's not like where I say, okay, if you enter a market of this exact demographic, here's the exact size that your business is going to get to. This is something that it's like it requires the entrepreneur to operate and to act utilizing the tools and framework that we've provided. So for a franchisee, I look for somebody who does have that entrepreneurial collaborative edge, that understands we have a framework, and then they can go and execute in their local market and apply things as they need to. I think that's kind of the top thing that I look for.
Well, that's amazing to articulate it that way, because as we know, entrepreneur. So you're right. When you get into the larger systems, entrepreneurial traits sometimes aren't the best fit.
Right.
As we go through and we're working with certain people, and you're absolutely right, where someone who's extremely entrepreneurial can come into this and have a ton of creativity on how they explode their business. So, and when you get to 100 units like you are, and you can still say that. I mean, so that I can't foresee that changing. Can you?
No, I don't. I'm really inspired by the idea that the Big Mac was invented by a franchisee.
Right. And McFlurry was at a Bathurst, New Brunswick.
Hey, well, there you go.
Bathurst, huh?
Yeah. Oh, that's it. But see, that's the amazing thing about franchising, and this is why I want to foster that type of mentality. There is, think of what the Big Mac did and the McFlurry did for McDonald's, right? And for the franchisees. So you're plugging away in Victoria at your location, you're doing really well, and then an innovation spawns out of the system. It gets plugged into everybody and puts everything to hyperdrive. Now your sales have gone up. So, and then you have other franchisees that want to have that flexibility and creativity to scratch that itch as entrepreneurs to create something, not just for their own business, that they can parachute it out and it becomes a part of the brand there as well. So I'm looking to foster an environment where that is encouraged, of course. I mean, there are limits. I mean, I think there's the famous, if you've seen the movie The Founder with about Ray Kroc and McDonald's and things like that. That is, there's a scene where he shows up at McDonald's and they're selling chicken and waffles and things like that, and it's like really off-brand. There are limits, of course. It's not like it's a free-for-all, but as long as it's in spirit and in a collaborative nature, which is how we operate, then yeah, we're all in a good spot.
Well, I think that when you do your FDD review calls and your brand presentation, especially your financial overview, they're always just good calls. Everything. When you're going into an EverLine Coatings and Services, you can see the services that are offered. So, while as you're going through that process and you look down, I mean, every time we're on a call with a candidate, you can see their eyes going like, holy crap, there's a lot that I can do here. But no, that's wonderful. And I know we talked about this before with East Brands, and certainly not to make this about our company. As we were growing and taking on staff, we had a gentleman who applied for, which is now our chief director or chief development officer. And so we went with a different candidate, and wonderful guy, and then gets back to us and says, you know what, Steve, I want a franchise. And I tell him about this EverLine. So the first time ever, someone who's applied for a job with our position went and became a multi-unit franchise owner with EverLine Coatings, and now and just a wonderful guy. And when you look at this gentleman, I won't mention his name, came from selling high-end products, didn't want to travel anymore, was just sick of being away 75% of the time. But what I'm getting at is your franchise owners coming out of the woodworks are from all shapes, whether it's a young guy like Josh in New Brunswick, whether it's a family man that the kids are an empty nester. And it's appealing, John, there's not a whole lot of people, if you have that entrepreneurial spirit in you and you see the market demand for it, you must be seeing that all over North America. There's just people from all walks.
Yeah, all over. I think those that have that drive the dream. I mean, I like to think, as I've developed myself as an entrepreneur, I'm really pleased with what we've discovered, what we've been able to develop, and it's definitely humbling for other really smart, experienced people, other franchisees that are seeing the same thing. And when you attract smart, successful people like that, that they're in their control of the brand name at their local location, and then that's going to build the brand there, and then that's going to assist the franchisee next, and it just becomes, and then they feed each other, and then it just continues on with that there. So I think just the demographics of being able to attract such visionary and just really exciting franchisees has been another element to our success.
Well, and you look at, and again, I know you're a humble guy, but you've received more awards in franchising than freaking Floyd Mayweather has belts. I mean, I know, and I know you're humble, but John, I don't know anyone that has received more than you. And what do you attribute that to?
I think to me, it is our purpose statement internally on the franchisor side, is that our vision is to connect entrepreneurs with the best in class franchisor. And so when, with a franchisee satisfaction centric mentality, which is, I think is the secret to it. So for instance, we do monthly surveys with our franchisees to keep a pulse on satisfaction or where issues might be popping up, things like that. Or even we just finished our annual franchise business review survey there as well. Just continuing to blow past the benchmark, but we're looking at areas where like, okay, we did really well here. How can we leverage on us doing even better to go from an 80 out of 100 to a 90 out of 100, like that kind of thing? Or it's like, here it's a little lower. How can we bolster the support in our system or do something new to change this, to try to get from here to there? And I think just that concept of constant improvement and constant check of ourselves, which drives my team crazy, but I always poke holes in everything we're doing. And that is, that's, I think, a big reason for a lot of that. And it's nice to be recognized, of course, for all that kind of stuff. It's wind beneath our wings. It's validation, and really exciting.
Yeah, well, look, man, it's, as you know, with franchising in Canada, there's not too many people I don't know, and just everyone loves John Evans, and everyone loves EverLine, and I think that you've raised the bar, especially when you look at this service-based, non-traditional franchise industries. I mean, you can buy a dryer vent franchise now, paint and barbecues. So why do you think that, we'll take EverLine, yes, but the service-based industry has exploded?
Yep.
And you could argue that blue collar is a new white collar. Why do you think that?
Well, I think, I mean, to me, the cost to the cost to scalability ratio is extremely high, or I guess low, right? Whatever, however you want to look at it, whatever size of the ratio you want to do. Basically, you can start up a business with a home office for the most part, maybe a shop space or a storage unit, or even just a van or a truck and trailer, whatever the system is. And then it really becomes a sales game, which is continuing to be scalable through digital marketing and, reach outs and things like that there. And you're able to really grow your business because it grows with you. So, and then you're also not limited in the size at the same time. So if you're, say, in a traditional franchise where it's a four-wall restaurant, you can only have so many seats during lunch hour and at dinner time, and you have to expand by going through the expense of getting a whole new restaurant or expanding onto your building or whatever it is. With us, or I guess with service-based brands, you just add another truck and you've doubled your capacity. And so, like that's I think the main driver as to why it's really working in that there. And I remember early on getting into and starting Everline. I always say yeah, I always somewhat not resent, but I always have like a nag on the concept that we're considered non-traditional a piece there. So I think we should just all be lumped in all together, service-based or whatever, mobile-based units, that kind of thing. Because I think right now the service-based franchise model, I'm biased, I think it's superior for many different reasons. But that is something that is truly where I think the future of franchising is going to continue to go.
Well, yeah, and the traditional, non-traditional franchise candidates or something, they don't even know what that means. That's just something that forward industry label. With your plans, and God, John, like you, man, you never stop. You never keep the head up and smell the roses. You just keep going. But what's the next few years look like for EverLine Coatings and Services?
For us, I think we're certainly moving away from the concept of being an emerging brand to more of a maturing brand. While we are very top heavy with newer franchisees, we have covered a lot of ground, and we've positioned ourselves uniquely across North America to be, the premier self-performing, property services contractor. So we're looking to expand on opportunities within that, while at the same time, hyper focusing on support to make sure that franchisees are, dealing with the growth that they're experiencing. I think last year our average growth rate year over year was 84% for our franchisees, the average. So
who can say that?
Nobody. So it's one of those things where especially for the franchisees, growth is of rate even above 25% is hard, and an average of 84% is there's lots of challenges related to that, and they're growing even faster than that now. So it's something that we are, just bolstering internal resources to make sure that they feel well supported, that they have the resources to be able to execute on the opportunities they have before them, and how to reach and continue to grow their business there as well as they've needed to. And that's through a variety of methods, partners, adjustments to our tactics, things like that, how we do that. So you're going to start seeing EverLine, I guess, unit sizes continuing to grow, franchisees beginning to, have more capability to make larger moves in their local markets, getting larger pieces of equipment, going and being able to handle larger projects. And then, of course, as we operate on the national account side of EverLine, you're going to be seeing, I guess, more execution of our differentiators. So with the infrared asphalt repair, but mostly TBL durables on a national scale, and I guess a continental scale as a result of all that. So we're working on all those things all at once.
Well, one thing I love about your company is while you're on growth mode, you still talk about performance of the franchise owners. And you've put a lot into that, where usually what we'll see is there's a lot of companies that will put the resources into growth, but not so much operational success.
Yeah.
Sometimes the other way around. But, and this isn't a financial performance guarantee, Larry, I promise. This isn't the type of company you need to do 7 figures in sales to make 6 figures.
Right.
The margins are great. And, when you look at some of the traditional style franchises, which, to be honest with you, I would argue is not leading the market now. When it comes into the lower entry with the scalability ones are really going, your unit economics, we won't get into that on this, but they're pretty darn impressive, John.
Oh yeah, thank you.
And you still have your corporate, like you still have the first location that ever opened is still going.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And going strong from what I see.
Well, yeah. We have yet to see a ceiling. People say, hey, well, where do these EverLine franchises cap out maturity? And we're like, we don't know.
Gosh, that's something else. So John, now, if you were going to send a quick quote or something to someone, we always like to say, excuse me, people are curious before they're interested.
Yep.
Curious, how can you be interested in something that you don't know about? It's kind of hard. But if someone was curious, or even if the curiosity was turning into interest about an EverLine Coatings and Services franchise, first of all, there's not too many left in Canada where it's, the opportunities closing in there. But if someone was from the CEO and founder to say to someone who's interested, what would you say?
In EverLine?
Yeah, if they're interested and they're exploring opportunities and their
sure.
eyebrows are raised about everything.
Sure. So I'll say this. I don't know the figure, how many franchisors there are in Canada. You must know. How many?
There are about 1,400.
1,400. So, I mean, to enter franchising, if this is the first time, or even, you've been in it multiple times in various ways. I mean, you have 1,400 brands in varying degrees of development, of just size and scale and shape and things like that. So, I mean, that is certainly a big, I guess, task to even navigate through all of that. So first, I would say call Steve at East Brands. No, we didn't.
Well, thank you.
We didn't plan this. But I mean, it can be overwhelming. I would say that utilizing the resources available to you to perform the research, to go through there. But say you go through that, you've kind of narrowed down those that really interest you, and entering into the phase. I think by far the most important thing will be franchisee validation. So, that combined with your just if it is a culture, if the actual franchisor that you're going to be connecting with and partnering with is a cultural fit, and then the business is a fit with, your dreams and desires and to how you're looking to build a franchise system. I mean, and some people have different investment strategies. If people are looking to build an asset to build and sell, some are looking to build and harvest, and that's okay. You can do any of those things. And all of those are really cool. But like I said, at the end of the day, there's you got to be able to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly with the franchisees, and not everything's going to be sunshine and roses. There's going to be stuff that the franchisees have gripes with, and that's okay. This is normal. This is a regular partnership. People say franchising is kind of like a marriage, and I don't know anybody's marriage is 100% perfect all day long, every day, that kind of thing. You have your tiffs and your fights and things like that. It's a lot like that, but at the end of the day, you're a team. And that is very similar to franchising. So keeping that in mind, and then and then again, making sure it's a cultural fit with that. That the people that you're working with, you're gonna want to work with because you're getting married. So
right,
yeah, that's all I got.
Well, man, you knocked that out of the park. I think that what we talk about if someone comes to us exploring franchise, that's the thing. You look at lifestyle, culture. Are very important, just as important as the finances. But one thing I always like to say too is, especially with when you have multi-unit owners and you're continuing to get multi-unit owners, people don't buy more than one when they've been around it if they're not having fun and making money, right? So the multi-unit ownership is certain, but franchise validation, you don't suggest that, you almost make them. We want you to talk to our owners because, and again, like we always say we bid caution speaking directly to the brand because a lot of times they're only going to tell you the good stuff. Talk to the owners.
Correct.
And you are one, and sometimes if companies are going through a hard time, they might, I'm scared they're going to call this, and you just say, call everyone.
Yeah.
Like, call who you want. And the validation is strong, right?
Mhm.
Which it reflects on your growth.
Mhm.
But well, that's amazing, John. I don't like, this was amazing. I wish I could go on for 3 hours. We could do a Joe Rogan. Let's talk about objective morality and keep going, right? And when you talk about the marriage thing, I think, you know, I've been, geez, I get 20 years in. Can you imagine being married to entrepreneurs like us? Whew,
Yeah.
they deserve a Stanley Cup.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's a roller coaster for them too. That's for sure.
God. Well, we I couldn't be more honored to be part of the growth of EverLine, and it's just been awesome seeing you grow, John, and your company. If anyone would like any information on franchise opportunities with EverLine Coatings, specifically in Canada, there's not a whole lot left. You can click the link below there. That's going to be in a couple of links. And John, it's been a pleasure having you, bud.
Hey man, always lots of fun talking with you, Steve. Thanks so much.
Okay. All right.
Hey everybody, John Evans here from EverLine Coatings and Services. So excited to join Steve Collette on the FranCanada podcast. Join us as we were talking about franchising, life, and love. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for joining us on the FranCanada podcast, where we speak all things franchising in Canada. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share below. You can also visit our website, our Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, Instagram, and please add me on LinkedIn, Steve Collette.